Hi, everybody. I'm Brittany Lewis, a breaking news reporter here at Forbes. Joining me now is my colleague, Forbes staff writer, Zach Everson. Zach, in the flesh, thank you for coming to the office and coming on in to do this live.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me, even though I didn't really dress all that well for it.
You did dress for the occasion, so I appreciate it. So you are reporting that the New York Attorney General claims that Donald Trump and his three eldest children, Don Jr., Eric, and Ivanka, have not turned over pertinent documents in a fraud lawsuit. So first, let's back it up for a second. You are covering over 40 lawsuits and investigations that Donald Trump is a part of. Can you explain this one?
Sure. If this sounds familiar, there's a reason why, because this happened again. So the New York Attorney General started an investigation into the Trump's business practices a few years ago, and it was last May that she went to the judge complaining that the Trumps hadn't turned over documents that were responsive to her subpoenas. And the judge at that time fined Trump $10,000 a day until he complied. He ended up paying $110,000 in fines for that. And at the time, Attorney General James put out a press release saying, we're showing that nobody can evade the law, sort of thing. Well, here we are a year later, and it's the same exact thing happening. Only this time, instead of a subpoena and an investigation, it's discovery for the lawsuit. So in September, she filed a lawsuit seeking $250 million from the Trumps to disgorge ill-gotten gains and also banning them from practicing real estate and some other business things in New York. And yeah, we're in discovery period right now, and they're not turning over what she's asking for.
So the Attorney General's office wrote a letter to the judge. What was inside that letter?
Sure. The letter flat out said, we are asking for you to require them to sign affidavits on how they're complying, and we want lists of everything they've looked at. How many phones do they have? Email accounts? What have they checked? They also interestingly pointed out that one of the bigger problems that they're facing is missing emails from Ivanka Trump, who at one point they were turning over, she was averaging 1,200 emails a month she was turning over. And then at one point it dropped down to 38 emails a month. So
huge dip.
Yeah. So what happened? Give us an explanation. And they wrote to Ivanka's attorneys back in February asking about this, and they did not get a response that satisfied them.
So last week you reported that Ivanka Trump did change attorneys.
Yep.
Could this be a situation where, the attorneys switched and it kind of fell through the cracks, or something more serious?
No, I mean, this is all would have happened under the old attorneys. This whole thing, the new attorneys is essentially inheriting this problem. So I don't know how they're connected. It's just, the timing is obviously very interesting that she gets singled out right at the same time that her attorneys leave. We don't know whose decision it was for those attorneys to leave. Did they decide or did she decide? They didn't get back to me with that.
Donald Trump was fined $10,000 a day last year. And it seems like, will he be facing more fines now? Did he not learn a lesson? Is this a different scenario?
Well, let's go. He did not learn a lesson. Or maybe he did learn a lesson in that it doesn't matter. He can afford to pay a $110,000 fine. It's the Trumps doing what they do and prolonging this to the last possible second. I don't know if fines are in the cards. They did ask for them to sign these affidavits, which seems like if they aren't totally forthcoming at that point, there could be more serious legal consequences. But we don't know. They have until May 12th to provide all the information there. So we'll hopefully get some answers around then.
Zach, in many conversations we've had, you've said that the Trumps' tried and true legal strategy is delay, delay, delay. Is that now gone from a tactic to something that's illegal?
Not at this point in the case. It's not until the point where he gets charged with something would it be illegal. It's just exploiting the legal system beautifully,
And how has the judge responded?
The judge was pretty quick to just give the plaintiffs, the Attorney General's office, what it wanted in this case, for the most part. And that it did, they asked for the affidavits and he granted that. They asked for deadlines and he set those as well. This is the same judge who fined them during the investigation. So this judge did not need to be brought up to speed on what transpired, although the Attorney General's office did mention that in the letter, saying, these issues with documentation go way back to the investigation that preceded this case.
And the New York Attorney General's office wrote a letter to the judge. Is that an unprecedented move to kind of help the judge or get the judge to intervene when it comes to the discovery phase?
No, you see that pretty regularly. Of course, maybe I'm biased because I mostly cover the Trumps. So maybe it's an issue that, the Trumps deal with that just doesn't happen that often. I'm not don't recall seeing these affidavits of compliance in the past, though. That was a new phrase for me, which again doesn't mean they haven't been used frequently, but it's new to me.
So when it comes to this specific lawsuit, what date should we look out for next? What can we expect?
May 12th. That is when the Trumps need to turn over all of these documents for discovery. And we'll get an idea, probably shortly thereafter, whether the Attorney General's office is satisfied with what's happened, or more likely that they probably think the Trumps are withholding stuff.
And if they are found to be withholding stuff, what is the next step here?
It could move on to fines. I mean, it could just keep going down that road, but we'll see. We don't know how long it would take to get to that stage, whether that would be pretty quick or whether it would just keep going on for, Ivanka just changed attorney. She needs, her new attorney needs more time to be brought up to speed on this thing. Don't know what the time frame for that would be.
So the likelihood of the can getting kicked down the road, you're saying, is pretty high?
100%.
Zach Everson, thanks for coming on.
My pleasure.